The rationale made a lot of sense in that it was reducing the costs for businesses. It helped them a lot. It put them on a more level playing field with the rest of Canada. So the rationale was good. The approach that was taken was very high-handed, and a lot of people felt this was something that came out of the blue. There was no consultation. I did a lot of work back in Ontario when they were having the same process. There was a lot more consultation. There was a much better lead time, and therefore the acceptance level was a lot higher. Here in BC, we resented the way it was thrown at us, and then when the referendum came out, people were still upset about it. Not looking at it from a logical perspective, but there was a lot of hype about it. There was a lot of angst against the government on it, and I think we made an emotional decision. I think it was a bad decision to switch back because it's going to cost us all more money. The overall economy is going to be hurt because we have to give back 160 million to the federal government. That doesn't help. We've now got to set up another whole Provincial Sales Tax administration, so we're duplicating the processes. The construction companies are now going to have to pay PST on the materials, which is going to add more cost to them and which they're obviously going to pass on to the customers. They have more administration processes because they have to manage 2 sales taxes, which never helps. And a lot of the contractors that I'm talking to, well, sometimes we do supply only, sometimes we do supply and install, and all these different situations require a different approach to taxes. You know, what do I do about my inventory? And people are very frustrated in that they have to go through this whole process again, considering they went through it less than 3 years ago. I guess the biggest concern is the lack of knowledge. First of all, this has not gone through the legislation yet. So when you ask the Ministry of Finance what's happening, they say, we believe this is the situation. We are aiming to do this, but until we get the legislation approved, and Parliament doesn't sit again until the middle of February, and that's only 6 weeks away from the trigger date. So there's a lot of uncertainty as to what will happen and what won't happen. And then it's just a frustration. You know, a lot of construction projects have been priced now. They're going to be done subsequent to April. And then, you know, how do I negotiate with my customer to get extra money? How do I deal with my additional overhead? So there's a lot of concern that I'm not going to get my money back. And I'm going to have a lot of angry customers because I'm going to want more money from them, and they're not going to want to give it to me. And they're going to, if I'm a sub-trade, I got to convince my general has to convince the owner, and it's a whole cycle that's not very nice for anybody. There are certain things I'm certainly recommending. First of all, any work that you're quoting now, between now and April, make sure that you specify very clearly what you've done about provincial sales tax. Under the CCDC2 contract, you cannot include provincial sales tax in your bids if the tender date is before the 1st of April. But you would probably want to make sure your customer is aware that there is going to be additional cost. Other contracts, you can put it in if you want to, but make sure your customer knows what you have done in that regard. Another really important thing is that if you're going to buy vehicles or equipment, if you buy it before the 1st of April, it's going to be 7% cheaper. So that makes it pretty attractive. If you were, say, if you had a big piece of equipment and you're getting a major overhaul done on it, it's going to be 7% cheaper in March than it will be in April. Office supplies, computers, all those sort of things are going to go up by 7%. So if you're making decisions now between buying in April or May and buying in February or March, buy now. And sorry, one other point there is if you've got equipment on lease, vehicles and equipment on lease, consider turning those into purchase agreements, because as a purchase agreement, you can trigger all the sales tax now and you will have you have that full 12% benefit. Whereas otherwise you're going to be losing 7% on all the lease payments from the 1st of April onwards. The residential market will find prices going down a little bit, and the commercial market will find prices going up. So if you're getting a furnace or a boiler or any sort of mechanical system in your home, the chances are it'll be about 3 or 4% cheaper if you wait until April because of the way the tax is structured. In a commercial contract, it's going to maybe 2 or 3% higher after April.
Is there anything I'm not asking?
You don't lose too much sleep over it. The government have streamlined the process. They have put in a fairness taxpayer commission code that you can go to. Go and ask them for guidance on it. They're good to respond to questions. You can email them, you can phone them, and you can get written guidelines from them. And I have found them very helpful in coming back with responses on it as best as they can. And basically, do what you used to do in the old days. The intent is to bring it back 99% the same way as it was before. So if you go on that basis, you'd be finding it very difficult to get into trouble, because that's what they're saying. They're bringing back all the permanent exemptions. Just watch, because some exemptions weren't permanent, particularly around energy type products. A lot of those things around furnaces and that, they were all due to expire anyway. But insulation type stuff is going to be exempt still. Prescribed safety equipment is going to be exempt. Vessels over 500 tons. All those exemptions are going to stay in place. That is the intent. So just take it one step at a time.